Good evening. Hello, everybody. Wonderful to be with you. We're just going to let people, hi, old friends and new. We're just going to let people settle. I'm Jennifer Ruddick-Zunikoff. I am the storytelling director at Teach the Shoah. So glad to be with you tonight or this afternoon, wherever you are hailing from. We have a wonderful program tonight. You are at our Storyteller Coffeehouse, and this is a relatively new type of program. We have the chance to really get to know a storyteller and hear a little bit of a longer story. And so tonight we're going to hear from Jessica Silverman. Jessica, you can wave hello. And Jessica, do you hear us? You can
Yes,
give
I
us
can hear
wave.
you.
Good.
Can you hear me?
So, oh, good. Yes, we can. Great. Oh, this is a great time to remind people to put yourself on mute if you are not already, so we don't hear background noises. And I also want to introduce Tanya Wissoker, who is one of our lead storytellers and one of our facilitators here at Teach the Shoah. We are so looking forward to spending some time with you tonight. This is a very sacred space, and we are honored that you have chosen to spend your evening with us. So now you have the opportunity, if you would like, to help us get to know you a little bit by writing in the chat, if you wish, where you're from and what brought you here tonight. So please feel free to do that. And I am going to put up our slides and get us started.
We are going to be recording this session tonight. We'll be sharing it with people who could not come to the presentation this evening. We are Teach the Shoah, as Jennifer was telling you, and we are really delighted to have you here. If you don't know who we are as Teach the Shoah, we are dedicated to ensuring that the story of the Holocaust remains relevant and resonant. And in addition to storytelling programs like the one you're going to have tonight, you will find a variety of resources for educators and families on our website, teachtheshoah.org. We provide interactive programming for Holocaust remembrance and interfaith programming as well. So, Jennifer, can you tell us what's coming up at Teach the Shoah in the near future?
Yes, I can. So here, thanks, Tanya. So here are two flyers about some upcoming programs. So the first one is actually about a course. Jessica took this course. Tanya took this course. Greg, I'm seeing, took this course. Many people, many other people in this space. And if you hear Jessica tonight and you think, oh my goodness, I would like to be able to do that, well, a way to step toward that is to take the course Moving from Testimony to Story. We have these several times throughout the year, so if you cannot start July 15th, then no worries, because you can certainly start another time, and we're really excited to offer that to you. So if you're interested, be in touch with us. We'll get you our emails, and you are now all on our mailing list, so you'll be getting information about these programs anyway. The other program is not till August. This is a one-time program, just like tonight, where you can just come for the one event. And this is because it's around the time of Tisha B'Av, it's sharing stories of spiritual resistance. So please join us for that event, and that is a free event. We also want to let you know, those who do not know, about our annual appeal, Lasset. Lasset is the Hebrew word for to bear. And the reality of Shoah storytelling in the post-survivor era is that we must not only tend the flame, we must hold it up. And so if you are interested in helping us, we do have a donation link, which we will put up. I think Tanya will put that up for us.
Just did so.
Thank you, Tanya. Okay, so now what we like to do is we're coming in and everybody's getting here and arriving and settling in. And we all know, whoa, we're about to hear a Holocaust story. So it's nice to come together, have a little quiet time. So I'm going to stop the screen, and I'm just going to invite you, if you would like, you can turn off your cameras. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to close my eyes and lead us in a little journey really important about these experiences, some people really like this kind of thing. Some people think, what is this? Know that you can follow my voice or not. It's really about having a quiet time for yourself to settle in. So if you would like to do so, please take a deep breath. Oh, I think you're all on mute. You can let that out with a nice sigh. Oh. And feel your feet on the floor. Feel your tushies on your chair or your sofa. And allow the shoulders that creep up toward the ears throughout the day. Allow our shoulders to drop and all the busyness of the day to fall away. The earth is holding us and can hold all those worries. And if you wish, you could see your head a little bit like a balloon that's tethered to the ground, but just can move ever so slightly upward and align your spine and help you be really present. And as you take the next breath and you feel it travel gently but deeply into your lungs, you can also imagine your breath traveling through the paths of your body, your spirit, way down deep, way down into the nooks and crannies, down into your feet, to your fingers, into your back, shoulders, neck, and head. And with the next breath, we invite you to know that you are so welcomed here. We need you to hear these stories, to help hold the space, and that you are both welcomed and welcomer. So take your time, no rush, but when you're ready, come back with us, turn on your cameras, and come back into our space. Now it feels a little different, like we're really here together as a community. And again, so nice to see so many of our regulars and so many new people as well. We're really grateful. So I am going to share my screen again, and again, take all the deep breaths you need. Go. So I want to tell you a little bit about our plan for tonight. You already took part in the first part, the guided imagery. So we're already in the session. We are next, in a few minutes, going to listen to a story of the Holocaust. Of course, this will be a story from Jessica that she's going to share about her grandmother, Minnie, and we will learn about both of them in a minute. And then we're going to have the opportunity to appreciate this story. Not only appreciate like, oh, that was nice or that was important, but to have the time to articulate that appreciation. So we'll all have time in the chat if you wish to write anything you want, any positive feedback you want to give to Jessica afterward. We ask that you do not write, please, during the story so that there's no distractions coming across the screen. If you do need to write to Tanya or myself privately, that's fine. And also, we invite you to notice what happens inside you. So often we're thinking about the teller and the experience and their talent, but what also is happening in us? Because part of the way a storyteller gets to tell her story effectively is by having listeners who listen deeply and well and warmly. And after we appreciate, we're going to have a few minutes to delve into Jessica's process. How did she put this story together? She's told it in different ways. We'll have some time for her to tell us about that. And then, for those who wish, afterwards, so at 9 o'clock when the main session ends, 9 o'clock Eastern, in 1 hour, there will be a short, very brief, 30-minute introduction to Holocaust storytelling workshop for those who want to stay. And it will just help you kind of put your toes in. Nobody's going to have to tell a whole story to everybody. It's going to be just a step or two that we take you along in the process. If one day you do want to take our courses or tell stories for yourself and others. So I know you know this. Obviously, you chose to come to this session. You know that these are Holocaust stories you're going to hear tonight, but it always is worth a reminder that these stories, many of them are quite intense, And yes, we are a community that's here to support each other, but we also are individuals with our own needs and our own ability to hear and listen and be present. So if you need to turn off your camera, or you want to take a step away, or you want to go get a drink of water, nobody will be offended. We're glad you're taking care of yourself, and just come back when you are ready. Okay, so Jessica, you are now on deck, and you will soon be telling your story, but I'm going to introduce you. And so I just want everyone to know, even before you can, of course, start reading her bio a little bit here, but I just want you to invite you to see that Jessica is such a powerful teller, but we all have abilities to tell stories, and we all have different styles. And this should only be one powerful evening of many where you get to hear from different storytellers and their different ways of telling. We learn something, and we can learn something from everyone that we hear. So we invite you to set aside anything like a phone or anything that could distract you from listening with your whole self, and to set that aside so you can really be present with us and with Jessica. So our storyteller, Jessica, let's tell a little bit about her. Jessica is the granddaughter of two Holocaust survivors. They are her mother's parents. Her grandmother, Mindel, called Mindele or Minya. Her American nickname is Minnie. She was born in Lodz, Poland, and her grandfather, Muni, was born in Kielce, Poland. Jessica wrote an autobiography about her grandmother's story of survival. It is titled, "Where There Is Life, There Is Hope." This was Minya's philosophy. She believed that living another day meant another chance at survival. Jessica donated a copy of the book to the USHMM, the Holocaust Museum in DC, and Jessica and her grandmother, Minnie, visited many high schools and colleges so that they could speak, and Jessica often helped Minnie share her story. Jessica also participated in the March of the Living with her own mother and her own daughter, so that the three generations could bear witness to her grandmother and to the other people. Minnie was like a second mother to Jessica and was always a part of her life. Very sadly, Minnie passed away this past November. Jessica already, here she is, continuing the legacy of sharing her stories, her grandmother's stories of the Shoah, the Holocaust. Originally from New York, Jessica now lives in Baltimore, near me. And she owns her own stationery business, and she and her husband have two grown children. And now we're going to hear a little bit more about Minya, but of course you'll hear a lot more in the story. So Minya was born in the mid-1920s in Lodz to Pearl and Jacob Storch. She was in the Lodz ghetto with her mother, father, two brothers and sisters, three sisters, from 1940 through 1944. Her mother and her eldest brother died from disease. And then the other members of her immediate family were deported to Auschwitz in August 1944, and horribly were murdered in the gas chambers. Minya survived. Minya and her cousins, Luba and Regina, survived Auschwitz, Kurtzbach, Grossbach, and were liberated from Bergen-Belsen in April 1945. After liberation, Minya met Muni, who had also been liberated, but from Dachau. They married, they had a daughter, Perla, who was Jessica's mother. And in 1949, Minya, Muni, and little Perla immigrated to New York. Minya and Muni became business owners. In New York, they had two sons. So in total, they had 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 16 great-grandchildren. Minnie, Muni, and Perla owned and operated a handbag store in New York City. We have New City, New York. So is that correct? New City, New York, working together every day. For over 30 years, they worked together. Minnie and Muni became not only grandparents, but were really another set of parents to their daughter, Perla's children, Jessica. Big one. Minya often said that God helped her live so that she could go on and create a new generation. The name Minya means strength, and Minya, was strong, generous, and had a lifelong ability to love. We are so honored to hear from Jessica tonight. So Jessica, actually Tanya's going to spotlight you, and Everyone, we will remain on mute. I will turn myself on mute. Jessica, take your time so that we can settle ourselves in and be present to all you have to share. Thank you so much.
Life in Lodge was wonderful. I lived with my parents, my 2 brothers, and my 3 sisters in an apartment behind a dairy store that we owned and operated. I loved dairy. I loved the cheeses and the cottage cheese and the milk. I would work in the store after school. I loved going to school. I was a good student, and I wanted to be a pharmacist when I grew up and to wear the white jacket and to help people. I came from a religious family, one of 6 kids. My parents named me Mindel, and they called me Mindela and gave me the nickname of Minya, which means strength. We celebrated all the holidays. Family would come from all over and stay with us in our apartment and even sleep on our floor. In the summer, I would vacation with my cousins Luba and Regina, and in the winters, we would go ice skating. September 1939, the Nazis invade Poland. And by April 1940, the Nazis had overtaken Lodz, turned it into a ghetto, and separated us from the outside world. They took away our dairy store. They took away our apartment. We had nothing. We all needed to do whatever we could to survive. My mom said, now, it's a time of war. We don't have to keep kosher anymore. Eat whatever you must to survive, and that after the war, we'll go back to keeping kosher. I was forced to go work in a factory. My job was to take straw and to weave it together and make boot coverings for the SS soldiers' boots. I would wake up extra early so that I could get to the factory and pick the straw that was a little bit softer on my teenage fingertips. At the end of the day, I was given a cup of soup. It's all the food I had all day. One day, they forced a group of us into a truck and drove us outside the Lodz ghetto to a large field. They made us dig this huge ditch, digging and digging. Then the SS shouted, "Men, line up!" Then they shot them. We women had to bury them. Life in the Lodz ghetto was unbearable. There was death, starvation, and disease everywhere. I saw a rabbi holding a Torah being burned alive. I saw babies being thrown from apartment windows down to the cobblestone streets below. My mom, Perla, and my older brother, Kalman, both died from disease. I would go and sit on my mom's grave. Mommy, I miss you. You were my everything. August 1944, the Nazis are liquidating the Lodz ghetto and forcing us to leave. I braid my hair in long ringlets, the way that my mom used to do it. And I put on a clean dress. We are shoved inside the train cattle car, and the doors shut, and we're pushed together like sardines, where we are standing for days and nights. The train finally stops, and the doors open. The SS are screaming. The dogs are barking. There's so much chaos, pushing and shoving, men to one side, women to another side. Dad, Itzik! I didn't know that was going to be the last time I would see my dad and brother. I was taken with my sisters, Esther, Chava, and Luba, down a dirt path with the rest of the women. We were made to take off our clothes and put on striped work clothes. Then they shaved our hair. I'm looking at my sisters and they're looking at me, and we don't even recognize each other, and we're standing right in front of each other. We had no hair. I look up and I see a sign. Arbeit macht frei. Work sets you free. I see a red brick building with chimneys, with smoke coming out of the chimneys. So much smoke. There's a smell of death in the air. I overheard a woman speaking in Yiddish. I asked her, "Where are we?" She said, "You're in hell." As I walked by a red brick building, I took my fingertips and I rubbed it against the red brick. And I took the little bit of the red dust that was on my fingertips and I put it on my cheeks like rouge so that I could look healthy. We are taken to the selection. Dr. Mengele put me in one line and put my three sisters in another line. That was the end of my sisters. They were taken to the gas chamber. I was the only one from my immediate family to still be alive. Life in Auschwitz was horrendous. I was starving. I was so hungry. It is better to die from a bullet than to die from starvation. I was given a bowl for soup, but it wasn't enough. And the soup wasn't any good. It was watery cabbage soup, and you could taste the dirt from the cabbage in your teeth. I just wanted to get back in line and lick the rim of the container that the soup was in. But the SS soldier recognized me. And he took the butt of his rifle and he knocked it into my mouth. My teeth fell out onto the dirt ground. There was blood in my mouth. My head was throbbing. There was nothing I could do. No one could help me. I couldn't help myself. I just had to take it. I ended up finding my two cousins, Luba and Regina, in Auschwitz, and the three of us decided that we were going to try to stay together. One day, a woman came over to us and said, "Tonight, let's go on the wires." I said, "No, I'm not going to kill myself. If you want to kill yourself, go right ahead. If they're going to shoot me or I'm going to die, there's nothing I can do about that. But I have hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day. Where there's life, there's hope. I want to live. I want to see how this war is going to end." It's January 1945. I'm on a death march with my cousins. We've been marching for days. There's snow all around us, but we're not allowed to eat it. The SS will shoot us. One night, we stopped by a barn. The SS said that we could sleep inside. We didn't have to sleep outside. It was warm inside and there was straw. But even hours later, we couldn't sleep. Our stomachs were empty. So I said to my cousins, stay here. I'm going to look and see if I can find us some food. I left the barn, and nearby there was a house. I opened up the door, and there the SS were sleeping. The rifles were up against the wall and their knapsacks. I stole a knapsack, ran back to the barn, said to my cousins, hurry, come meet me out back in the latrine. The three of us opened the knapsack, and there was liverwurst, chocolate, and beer. We ate it all. We hadn't eaten that much in years. But what to do with the knapsack? I said to my cousins, don't worry about it. I'll bury it under the straw in the barn. They'll never find it. That night, we slept. The next morning, the SS shout, Achtung! Stand at attention! The SS with his pistol, shooting it up in the air, wanting to know, who took my knapsack? Who took my knapsack? We didn't say a word. The other SS soldier said to him, come on, we have to go, continue the march. I'm in my 5th camp since Auschwitz. I'm in Bergen-Belsen. I'm sick with typhus, with a fever. I have lice all over me. My cousins are sick as well. They're laying down in a nearby barrack. There's mountains of dead bodies everywhere. The crematorium is broken. I have no clothes on. I'm naked. I'm a skeleton. It's April 15th, 1945. And there are tanks coming over the barbed wire fences. Who are these people? What is happening? A tank stops nearby me, and a young man in military uniform gets out. And he comes over to me, and he takes off his jacket, and he puts it on me. I fall to the ground. The jacket's too heavy for me. I'm skin and bones. I give him my hand, and he helps me up. And I start talking to him, but he doesn't understand me, and I don't understand him. So I take his hand, and I walk him over to the barrack to where my cousins are. And I say, Luba, Regina, you have to come out. You have to see what's happening out here. And they said, Minya, can't you see? We're dying here. And I said, come out now. Die later. We're being liberated. We're looking and looking to see if anyone we know has survived the war. The three of us were liberated from the British. We're in a DP camp in Munich, Germany. Tonight, there's a big dance, a social gathering in the camp, but I don't have anything to wear. So I ask a young man in military uniform if he has an extra uniform that I can borrow. He said, of course. I didn't care that it was a man's uniform. I wanted to look sharp. I walked into the dance and all eyes were on me. But I only had eyes for one man. He was tall and handsome. And he had eyes for me. I went over and I introduced myself to him. Hi, I'm Minya. And he said, hi, I'm Uni. We sat down and we talked. And he told me that he was from Kielce, Poland, and that his mom had given him a diamond that was sewn inside his jacket pocket. When he arrived in Auschwitz, he was able to save that diamond and sew it into his belt buckle. But then eventually they took the belt from him as well, but he was able to save the diamond. One day, he offers the capo, the Jewish guard, the diamond for a piece of bread. The capo could have taken the diamond, punched him, and walked away. But he didn't. He gave him a piece of bread. Muni had been through many camps, like I had been. Towards the end of the war, he was in Dachau, laying on the dirt ground, emaciated. 2 SS soldiers saw him, and one of them was about to shoot him. And the other soldier said to him, "Don't waste a bullet. Don't bother. He's dead already." It saved his life. Muni was liberated by the Americans from Dachau, and we would later learn that we were both in Auschwitz at the same time. I'm looking in his eyes, and he's looking in mine. We're standing under the chuppah. It's April 6, 1946. And we're getting married in the DP camp in Munich. An American general is throwing us a wedding. Luba had gone door to door to find me a wedding dress, a dress that I wore that was beautiful, that then I passed down to her, that she wore, and then was passed down to other survivors. As I'm standing under the chuppah, Ani v'dodi v'dodi li. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Ten months later, February 20th, 1947, I'm in the hospital. I've just given birth to my first child, a daughter that I named Perla after my mom. I love you. We're in our apartment in New York City. It's 1949. And Hayes, the Hebrew Immigration Aid Society representative, had met us at the dock after our 2-week journey on the ship across the Atlantic. And here we are in this gorgeous apartment. There's even a bathroom inside. They gave Muni a job as a butcher, not a kosher butcher, but a butcher job. And look, for me, a new stroller for my daughter. I was walking with my daughter in the stroller in Riverside Park. I was lonely. I had no one to talk to. I didn't know the language. And then I overheard a group of women speaking in Yiddish. I went over to them and I introduced myself. And that was the beginning of me making friends in our new city. I had always remembered what my mom had said, that when the war was over, that we would go back to eating kosher meat. So I walked into a kosher butcher shop and I started talking to the man behind the counter. His name was Paul. And I explained to him that I was taking the money that my husband had made from his butcher job so that I could come in and buy kosher meat. He said to me, "Tonight, bring your husband by. I'd like to meet him." The sign outside the shop says Paul Muni Kosher Meats. Here we are, standing in the shop. All these years later, I brought Muni that night, and Paul not only offered him a job, but made him a partner in the business. And for many years, Paul and Muni worked together. So here we are. Paul is a father to us. He is generous and kind. Where there is life, there is hope.
Mm. Thank you, Jessica. Let us take a deep breath in a few moments just to let the story sit with us. Mm. Jessica, thank you so much. This is the time that we have the opportunity to give permission, to give appreciations to our teller. And so I asked Jessica's permission. May I start with some appreciations? Thank you, Jessica. And everyone else, we have a lot of our regulars who are used to doing this. Please feel free, and even if you're new, you can feel free to use the chat feature to offer appreciations to Jessica, to tell her so that we can all see what about the story touched you. I'm just gonna, I think Tanya's gonna write this in the chat, that there's 3 types of appreciations. I'm just going to say this really quickly because I want to give those appreciations to Jessica. But we use a model that my coach, Doug Lippman, uses, where we offer 3 types of appreciations. And those are the content, so actually what happened in the story, the delivery, the way the storyteller imparts the story, and how the story lives in you, how it made you feel as a listener. So please respond to any of those. It doesn't have to fit in a category, but that's just a framework to help you think of how we give appreciations. So Jessica, as you know, I have been very blessed to work with you for many months now. And you took our beginner and advanced storytelling class as part of the Baltimore Jewish Council's cohort with Teach the Shoah. And watching you build this story and the power with which you told even the first scene, the first night, was remarkable. And what you have now, where you in 20 minutes have brought us, not of course an entire life, because we cannot do that in 20 minutes, but you have made us feel that we have met your grandmother. You have really, really honored her in a way that every second generation person dreams of doing for their family. And every survivor would pray that they would have a child or grandchild who would do what you did. You gave her the dignity that she always had. You let us see her chutzpah, her love of family, her beauty inside and out. You brought us into her life before the war and her family and her steadfast love for the people around her and her ability to put herself out there because there was always another chance. And your stern way of speaking and your warm way of showing us her bright face and her love for her daughter, for her husband, for her family, every little scene. And then when you get to every time the one with Paul in New York at the kosher butcher and that Muni becomes the partner, and I have to point out a very sad scene from the beginning that really touches me. I mean, we could go, people are writing these, we could go on and on with every scene and how beautiful and powerful it was. But when you are there still in the ghetto on your mother's grave and saying, you as your grandmother sitting there and saying, Mommy, you know, I miss you, you were my everything. Oh my gosh. So there's, and one other part I would point out, and then I'm going to turn it over to the room here so others can speak. When you do the part about the knapsack and the officer is, you know, hitting his gun, shooting his gun, and you just stay perfectly still. I could just see her not saying a word, just all that she had been through and retaining her composure. Thank you. So in the chat, you have lots of messages coming through. And Jessica, we will save these for you. Tanya,
Okay, great.
remind,
Thank
right?
you.
We will get you these. But for now, we want to allow the people in the room to share. In our other sessions where we have more of a workshop, we put people into partners, but here at the Coffee House, we go straight into just inviting people in the room. So even though you haven't had time to work with a partner, I know that some of you feel ready to share aloud. Even if you wrote in the chat, please do raise your hand, your digital hand. I see Steve, so I'm going to call on him in a second. And I just ask everyone, since there are so many people and we do have only a few minutes because there's still other pieces where Jessica's going to share with us her process, to just keep it brief and say, one or two things that feel most that you have to do, that you just have to say. So Steve, we're going to have Steve, then Joel, then Sherry Heller. Okay, so Steve, please.
Jessica, this is my second opportunity to hear you tell this story. This is a bit more expanded than the last, and it's the same impact. It just shook me at every moment. And all I can say to you is thanks for letting me get to meet your grandmother.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you.
Oh, that was Steve.
Oh, Steve. Thank you,
Yeah.
Steve.
Thank you. And Steve not only is a 2G himself, as is Joel, who we're about to hear from, but Steve also, he and I for years co-taught a class at Goucher College, Oral History of the Holocaust, of students telling the stories of survivors. So he knows this as an educator, a coach, a psychiatrist, and a 2G. So just wanted to let Jessica know all that. So Joel, please share. Joel was one of our first Teach the Show as Storytellers about 4 years ago.
Oh, incredibly done. And it was incredibly done to be able to not only to tell a story, but multiple stories in an order, in a sequence that is not only logical, it helps the person hearing the story to actually visualize and sequence what's going on here. And you went from before the war to their marriage, and you told a story in a story, which that's incredible. I mean, because that's really hard. It's hard to feel confident enough to do that you will be able to hold everybody's attention and have them understand exactly where you are when you're there. So from the technical part, I'm amazed. I took so many notes for myself.
Quite a compliment from you, Joel, who's such an excellent storyteller yourself. So, and tells the story of your mother in the MS St. Louis and Kristallnacht in Germany, just to be able to have someone with a very different story, but of course some connections. Joel, thank you. And I'm glad Joel pointed that out about the Muni story told within the husband's story, within the wife's story, Mina's story. It was quite remarkable. Thank you, Joel. Okay, so we're going to hear from Kathy and Alan briefly, and then we're going to go onto your process, Jessica. So we'll turn things back over to you in a minute. Kathy, you're on.
So, Jessica, I just want to thank you for what you presented. It touched me in so many different ways. I found myself absolutely terrified for your grandmother during that knapsack stealing incident. I felt pride in her for even thinking of the idea and the creativity. I loved the way you used your language and your facial expressions, your voice, to create this very visceral feeling of being there. And you did that in a different way in several other spots too. I saw other people mention some of the other points where you had that. And for me, the big moment was the chuppah. I started to cry, not out of sadness, but out of joy. So
thank you, Kathy.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for your
Thank
sharing.
you so
Kathy, another one of our storytellers. Thank you so much. Beautiful, Kathy. Alan, you'll be our last appreciator, but please keep writing in the chat, everyone.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I did write in the chat already, and I might just say that the last two, Kathy and I forget who spoke before her. I'm sorry. Second, all of your comments. I was driving, so unfortunately, I could only listen and not look at her expression, at her expressions as much as I wanted to. But as I said in the chat, that may have been the most powerful and powerfully told teach the show a story, and one of the most powerful Holocaust stories I've ever heard. Period. I found myself crying at times. Also, my father was from Poland. He was not in the camps. He left in time, but his mother was most likely murdered at Auschwitz. And so I found myself thinking a lot about that, and I'm starting to tear up right now just thinking about it all. Jessica, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alan,
I
thank you for
appreciate
sharing.
that.
And
Thank you for sharing.
I love the happy ending too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I want to just, Sherry had actually tried to let me know that she wanted to speak. And she is also one of our recent tellers who just performed at a live event in DC. And I'd love to get her response. Sorry, Sherry.
Kol hakavod. I don't want to take too much time. I just want to tell you this was flawless and I'm in awe. And for sure, your grandmother's neshama is having an aliyah right now. And I just want to say one thing in particular that really moved me was your pauses, not just your pauses, but how you look up. I noticed you looked up at the sign. You looked up at the smoke stack. You looked up at the soldier who liberated. And then the most beautiful moment was when you were born. I think it was she had a baby and she was looking down at the baby. That was also beautiful. But your pauses and your expression on your face, what really drew me in, this was just unbelievable, beautiful.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Sherry.
you so much. I really appreciate all the comments and all the accolades. It means so much to me.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Sherry, for saying it's so nice to hear from the other tellers, like supporting each other. And you all can become tellers with Teach the Shoah. And just thank you all for your noticing. And I'm really glad you brought up, Sherry, about the way that Jessica looked and the way she embodied it, that even when we're on Zoom, storytelling comes from the body. The body knows, right? The feelings. And when we allow that to happen, you can be, as Jessica was, both professional and in your body at the same time. And it was really, we could feel it, Jessica. Thank you so much. So we want to give you, we just have a few minutes, but we want to give you time to share with us a little bit about the process. Jessica just performed this, as Steve alluded to, here in Baltimore for our citywide Yom HaShoah event, as did Claudia, who's also here in the room. They both told so beautifully. And it was in front of hundreds of people and about 100 and so more online. So now Jessica got to be in this intimate space. So please feel free to share that. In a minute or so, we'll put up the pictures too, and you can talk about those.
Okay. So it was really many, many years of sitting down many, many times with my grandmother and recording her and wanting to hear the details of her story and then researching it and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together and understand how to put it all together. And then I ended up writing an autobiography of her life, which was helpful for when then I started taking the Teach the Shoah class. I started in January, and I was honored to be asked to speak at the Yom HaShoah event in May. And I was happy to have a few extra minutes to speak today because at the Yom HaShoah event, it had to be even shorter. And I wish I even had more time, but I'm grateful for this opportunity. And if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, I would love to chat with you.
Thank you, Jessica. Sorry, I was talking when. And yes, we're so honored that you're part of this and you brought your expertise and your research and the conversations with your mother, your grandmother. So please tell us about, I'll just flip through the slides fairly quickly, but tell us, there's about 2 pictures per slide, about the pictures.
Right. So these, I mean, the pictures are all going to be post-war. And so if you see the picture of just Minnie, and her mouth is closed, is because until she had her teeth fixed, she didn't smile and show her teeth for a picture like that. And you can see a picture of them dressed up, what looks like perhaps New York City after they had immigrated to the US. So if you look at the middle picture, you can see that it says New Freeman. That was the name of the DP camp in Munich, Germany, that they lived in for years. And that's my grandfather, Muni, and that's my mom. And at 2 years old, they had left the DP camp and came over. She was born in 1947 and they came over in 1949. But when I saw that picture and how it had the label with the date on it, I knew I had to put that in. And then the stroller. I mean, look at that old-fashioned stroller of what it used to be. Her immigration card. I mean, what a beauty she was. And then throughout life, I was just extremely close with her. Yes, she was my grandmother, but really more than that. She worked with my mom, and my grandparents worked with my mom and owned and operated a handbag store in New City in Rockland County, New York. And my grandparents, 7 days a week, were a part of my life. They came to dinner almost every single night. I saw them almost every single day. It was just another set of parents. So we were extremely close ever since I was a child. Oh, so the picture on the left is Luba, one of the cousins that she survived with, and Minnie at my daughter's bat mitzvah many years ago. And if you can see how they're having fun, that is how they always were. First of all, they love to be together. They would talk every single day, and even if they couldn't see each other every single day, and even at night, they would just stay on the phone, even if they're watching the same program, and not even talk, but just like be on the phone with each other. They were inseparable. And then the picture of them with the IDF, the Israeli soldiers, that's an interesting picture. They were on a Cantor's mission trip that went to Poland and Israel. They're in Yad Vashem on this tour when a group of young Israeli soldiers find out that they're Holocaust survivors. And they all wanted a picture with them. So here you have these young soldiers who want a picture with these two Holocaust survivors in Yad Vashem. And then there's a picture of my grandmother with my 2 kids at my son's bar mitzvah. So that's the book that I had written, which was really just written for my family. I didn't write it for public consumption, although I have lots of friends that want to read it, so it gets passed around. And then she loved a party. She loved to get dressed up. She loved to look sharp. She always put herself together. And so that was us just going to a wedding.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for not only telling impeccably well, but speaking about your telling and your process just as beautifully, just as powerfully. Thank you so much for sharing her with us on so many levels.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you.
You're welcome, Jessica. And her sources, we always like to explain that everything we do comes from primary sources. As Teach the Shoah, we are taking primary source material, and then we are sharing it with you through the art and the skill of storytelling. So at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, there is footage, testimony of Minnie. There was a Shoah Foundation interview, and of course, firsthand testimony that Jessica witnessed and how she learned from her grandmother. We're so grateful. So we are going to stop sharing right now. We have about 4 more minutes before the end of this part of the session. We want to thank Jessica so much for everything, every truly, it's one of those blood, sweat, and tears, like everything. She brought her full self into this, and you all witnessed that. And thank you, Jessica. We really can't thank you enough for what you're doing and will continue to do, God willing. So now we want to invite you to stay from 9 to 9:30 Eastern, which is, we'll start in about 4 minutes, for our introductory to Holocaust storytelling workshop. It is up to you, but if you stay, you will get a little sense of the beginning steps toward being able to do the kind of work that Jessica did. But we realize that some people do have to leave. So what we're going to do now is a very brief guided imagery, because we believe at Teach the Shoah, safely in, safely out. These are very intense stories. So we want you to be able to take in what you want to take in and let go what you need to let go of. We'll then show a few last slides, put up some of our information so you can stay in touch. And then for those who can stay, welcome you into our brief workshop. So again, if you want to turn off your cameras or just close your eyes, that is fine. And let's take a deep breath. And just know how much you are needed here tonight. Not only was there an incredible storyteller and a powerful story, there were such beautiful listeners, and you were one of them. Know with the next breath that you're taking in of this story and truly giving your listening heart, that did help Jessica and all of us hear what we needed to hear. Thank you for helping to hold the space. Thank you for bringing this essential work into your life. And with the next breath, take in all you want to treasure from the story. And as you breathe out, and you might want to even shake a little, shake off whatever you want to leave your body right now. Doesn't mean that the story wasn't important to you. It doesn't mean that you haven't heard and really deeply cared about the testimony, but you're going to bed soon and you want to sleep and have sweet dreams and good rest. Another breath in, another breath out. And my wish for you is that you sleep soundly, that you are well rested when you awaken in the morning. And when you awaken, that you know that you're ready for another day of work and productivity and connection and bringing these stories in your own way to more people. Thank you so much. And you can turn your cameras back on. So we are going to take your time, no rush. Another breath. I'm going to share my screen and show you the last few slides. Okay, again, a reminder of the upcoming programs I showed you in the beginning. If you're interested in our 6-week beginner course, like the one that Jessica took at the beginning of her training, please do sign up and be in touch with us. You can go to teachtheshoah.org and find information about these events. Sunday, August 11th, we hope to see you for the Sharing Their Stories Spiritual Resistance Tisha B'Av program. Do you, Tanya, want to lead us out?
I do. I'm adding a couple of links into the chat, and Jessica did post her email address on the chat. So just look up a little bit further, those of you who are hoping to contact her. I want to thank all of you, and Jessica especially, for this fabulous night. This is the end of this part of the coffee house. I hope you will stay on for the next half hour. We really enjoy creating this little bit of a workshop process with you. So please stay. And if you can't, we definitely thank you so much for coming. Here is the Lisette appeal. Please stay in touch with us and know that we are grateful to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tanya, for putting the links in the chat. If anybody wants to be in touch with, you can be in touch with Deborah, our executive director, Lynn, our director of Holocaust Scholarship, or myself, the storytelling director. But if anybody who's meeting me tonight or being introduced to Teach the Shoah tonight wants to be in touch with me, it's Jennifer@teachtheshoah.org. Thank you again, Jessica. We'll give a minute for people who have to leave to go out. Jessica, did you want to say something?
Yes, so I see some people would like to touch base with me. I put my email in, but in case you didn't catch it, you can always also get in touch with Jennifer and she can pass along my email to anybody. So feel free to reach out to me. Would love to connect.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you, everyone. So in another minute, oh, I also want to say hi to Acadia, who is our intern. Acadia, wonderful to see you. We're so glad that you're here. Great to have you. So please stay. We will start in 1 more minute. And all who have to leave, thank you. And we will see you again soon.